Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Annalisa from Creative Curious Learning and Living, and welcome to Curiosity Month. All month long during the month of September, I have been sharing Curious George themed videos with a hint of curiosity, because on September 17th, it is Curiosity Day, and that is to celebrate the release of the Curious George book, the first one, back in 1941. So I really love Curious George, so I thought it'd be fun to bring you some Curious George related videos and spark curiosity in your homeschool and in your kiddos. So if you have not seen those other videos, definitely go check them out. But we have another Curious George theme video for today. And in today's video, I am going to be sharing how to use a Curious George book to talk about God, to start a conversation about God using a Curious George book. So how do we do that? So you could essentially use any book to do this. In our main curriculum called Come Sit By Me that I use in kindergarten and grade 1, they take Canadian picture books that have nothing to do with the Bible, and they pull out different character traits and different situations and point you to God within those situations. So I am going ahead and doing that with a Curious George book. I have done this in the past at summer camp and in different scenarios. So you're going to need your Bible and, of course, a Curious George book. This is a treasury of Curious George, so you have a bunch of different ones. And I have created a free printable, which will be available for free over at Teachers Pay Teachers. I'll have it linked down below in the description box. It's going to look a little bit different. I did take off using a Curious George book, but it says on the top, be curious about God, and then there is 5 steps to get you to dive into your Bible and start the conversation of being curious about God. And I'm sure you will learn something along the way as you do this. I also just want to say the concept of being curious about God. As a Christian, we want to seek Him. We want to learn more about God. We want to be curious, and we want to learn as much as we can about God and have that relationship with Him. So I think that's just so beautiful. And even as a non-believer, if you have questions about God, you are being curious about Him. So to be using a Curious George book, we want to spark that curiosity and learn and grow in our relationship with God. And I think that's just such a beautiful thing. So step number 1, book title. So pick a Curious George book and start reading it. Maybe read it a few times and start to understand what is going on and how you can bring God into this. So step 2, problem, trouble. If you have read a Curious George book, George usually gets into trouble and the man in the yellow hat comes and saves him and helps him solve his problems, or sometimes before George already figures out how to navigate. So what is the problem and the trouble that he gets into, and how can we learn from this? What can we do? Prayer is a big concept. Maybe we're in a situation, maybe Curious George is in a situation where he's afraid of something, and maybe your kid has been afraid of this. How can you point to God in that situation and help your child point to God in this situation? Lesson learned. So what did George learn from this? And what can we learn and take away from this? There's always something to learn from these stories. They're just fun stories, but what can we learn from them? What can be our takeaway? And then step 4, a Bible verse. What is a Bible verse or maybe a Bible story that you can take to illustrate this concept, this trouble, or this lesson learned, or a character trait? I did not put character trait on here, but you could definitely pull out a character trait from the story as well. And then step 5, reflections and questions. So what did you see in the story that was something that you want to point out to your child? Maybe you have some questions where you want to spark more curiosity, point them towards God more, or maybe your kid is going to ask questions that you didn't even think about. You can go ahead and write them down here. I have laminated this so I could use a dry erase marker on it. yeah, this doesn't have to be super theologically correct. It's just starting to spark that idea of how do we strive to be more like God, and how do we be curious about Him? How do we point situations in our life towards God, and how do we get Him to come in and help us? Do we go to God in prayer? Do we go to the Bible? Do we find someone to talk to about what we're going through? Starting that conversation with your kids to be curious about God. So that is a super simple video of how to use a Curious George book, or any book really, to talk about God. God is everywhere, and God can be in all things, and we can learn to look towards Him in all situations and pray and just learn to grow in our relationship with Him and ask questions and learn along the way. So that is all for today's video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Here on my channel, I share a homeschool journey, cleaning motivation, home decor, sensory bins, and more. I would love to have you join us here as we share those things. And there is a few more videos coming in the Curious George themed videos as we close up this month of September. I cannot believe we are coming to an end of this month. Time is just flying by, but thank you for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.